If your amulet doesn't bling, sorry, you're a witchling. Hi everyone, I'm Jacob. I'm the CowHatLibrarian. And I stumbled onto this one by running into its sequel on my library shelves in the new book display. And when I started reading the description and found that there was a first book in the series, I got quite excited. And it is Witchling by Claribel A. Ortega. As the story starts, our heroine, Seven, is ready for the big ritual in her town. When young witchlings come to a certain age, they are assigned to a coven by a magical ceremony, and the members of their coven inevitably become their best friends for the rest of their life. She and her current best friend have big plans. They are going to get selected for House Hyacinth. They are going to continue being best friends forever and doing wonderful things, and it's all going to be great. And the night of that event, Seven is waiting with her parents, wearing the amulet that will glow the color of her new house and indicate who she's going to be bonded in a coven with. And while she waits around, she meets a new witchling who's just joined the town, Thorn, who's clearly nervous and very, 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 very talkative and wants to overshare and will not just be quiet and leave Seven alone for this solemn moment. And in the crowd, she also sees Valley, a witchling who's caused her no end of grief and who Seven is fairly certain is her mortal enemy because they never seem to agree on things, and Seven has done some pretty not so nice things, including putting weird substances into Seven's hair products. So the ceremony begins, and one house goes first, and the witchlings are selected for their coven, and everyone celebrates and they're happy. And another house goes, and the witchlings are selected for their coven, and everyone's happy. And House Hyacinth hasn't been selected yet, and Seven's confident she and her best friend are going to make it. Finally, House Hyacinth comes up, and the first two new members of the coven are selected. There's still room for her and her best friend is selected. And then not Seven. Someone else is selected. But it's okay. Surely her amulet will glow for one of the remaining houses. Surely she's not going to be left without a coven, right? Wrong. Seven and Thorn and Valley are not selected for one of the existing houses. They are condemned to be spares. They'll still be joined together as a coven of the three of them, but they won't be assigned to a house, and the spares are looked down upon by the broader magical community. And Seven is unsure about all of this. She doesn't like Valley. She's not sure about Thorn. She is super disappointed that she's not in House Hyacinth with her best friend in the world. And so when the time comes for their coven to be bonded, for this ritual to be formalized, for the three of them to be connected for life, her heart wavers and the bonding fails. When that happens, those witchlings that were spares and could not be bonded, they're basically condemned to live a life without magic. And in a moment of panic, Seven runs up to the town grand, their leader and most talented magical user, and asks for an impossible task. It's a request seldom asked for, but it allows her and the other two spares to go on a quest, something that is nigh impossible. But if they complete it, they'll be allowed to continue advancing as witches and not be condemned to a life without magic. On the other hand, if they fail, they will be punished severely. And they will be, in fact, turned into toads. Now, the town is shocked that someone is asking for an impossible quest. It's so rarely done. Seven's parents are shocked. Thorn and Valley are kind of unsure because they didn't agree to this before Seven spoke up. But ultimately, they agree it's their only chance. And the following day, the Gran assigns them their mission. Their impossible task is to deal with a monster. That monster is the giant night beast, a mythical cat-like creature with magic of its own and that controls other magical beings to bring it food. And it certainly lives up to its name of being an impossible task. And so the story proceeds from there, with the three girls planning and trying to figure out ways to deal with this monster, and going up against the very tight deadline that has been assigned because they only have 3 weeks to do it in. Weaving around their preparations to go after that monster is the story of them getting to know each other and gradually becoming closer, but also discovering how badly their town treats spares in general. They run across 1 or 2 spares who are out in the broader community who did succeed in forming a coven, but are all but indentured servants to the richest witches and wizards up on the hill. And as things come to a head, they find out that some people they thought they knew, they in fact did not. And it's very, very good. If you are a fan of something like Greenwild, I definitely recommend this. It's a great story about friendship and magic and working together and maybe not making assumptions about things. And it was all good. I like that it wasn't a standard magical school setting. That it specifically takes place outside of the halls of school. It's not happening at Hogwarts. It's not happening in the Grove in Greenwild. It's just them going on this quest, using their town as a base, but doing this quest aside from school and aside from teachers. And that was pretty good. I like the characterizations. Seven is very, very real. Her dismay at being placed with Valley is palpable. You can feel how upset she is. And there's a ton of stuff in here about her not trusting Valley's opinions, and even when Valley has proven herself to be a reliable source of information on some of these topics. And there's a great running thread of uncertainty and distrust that she has to overcome over the course of the book. It's very well written, in my opinion. I quite enjoyed it. And I recommend it wholeheartedly. Now, with that said, it wasn't perfect. There are spoilers ahead because I have to talk about the deal breakers. So the first deal breaker is this. This is ostensibly set in a magical realm that's different from ours, which is fine. But the attempts by Ortega to make a magical realm are basically window dressings on our existing world. Instead of just calling these beasts monsters, they're monstros. Instead of drinking coffee, the grown-ups drink mud bean juice. Instead of just having cell phones, it's a big deal that one of them has a portaphone that can be used to send magical messages. It reads a lot like the Star Wars novels of 10 or 15 years back, where they were talking about calf and nerf hide this and nerf hide that, and nothing could just be given the standard name of objects in our culture and society. No, they need the invented one in that book and its fictional world. And ultimately, it adds nothing to the story. It's a quick, haha, they're talking about coffee, mud bean juice, I get it. And it doesn't need to be there. I think it detracts from the book because it doesn't do anything to add to the magicalness of this world that Ortega is describing. I think it would have been a little stronger just as a magical community that is basically in our current world, just, not visible to the rest of us, where they have coffee and they deal with monsters, and where they just have cell phones, and that would have been just fine with me. Yeah, that was my main nitpicking about this book. Because honestly, the stuff that happens later on floored me. There's a setup that the second most powerful person in their town, the person who's the liaison to the animals in the forest, is the town uncle. And he's portrayed as this fairly powerful wizard, second only to the Gran in their town's hierarchy. And he goes missing, and it's assumed that he's been eaten by this beast that the kids are after. And he comes back late in the book as an ally, and you think, great, they finally are getting some help. The Gran's out of the picture. They have some support. They can do this. And it's revealed that the uncle was one of the people who'd previously been a spare and went into an impossible task and was doomed to fail it, in his opinion, because of the actions of some people in his town. And so he and the others took revenge and took over someone else's life to set themselves up as uncles so they could get their revenge on the town. That was a bolt from the blue. I did not see it coming. It was a genuine surprise. I loved it. It was great. And as I said, when I was in the public library, I noticed and stumbled onto this because of the sequel. There is a sequel, and I'm looking forward to reading it and seeing what Ortega does with these characters now that they've passed their impossible task and that they're friends. And I can't wait to see what happens next. I recommend it. Go borrow it from your public library. While I'm on that note, if you use and appreciate the services offered by your public library, why not take just 1 minute and tell the powers that be exactly that? Tell your mayor, tell a councillor, tell your MP or MLA that you use and appreciate the services offered by your public library. We're at a time where some public libraries are having trouble finding sustainable funding to continue improving the materials, programs, and services they offer. And a few good words from the writers might make a world of difference. If by some chance you're a library staff member, don't forget, watching my videos counts as professional development time. With that, thanks for listening to me talk about how Witchlings is a winnerling. By all means, please like, please subscribe, and please check back and see what else I have to talk about from the CowHat Library. Thank you. Bye now.